Hello everybody, Maven here, and at this Tuesday's reset, we got a handful of sandbox updates for all three characters, but Warlock got by far the most impacted. And on Tuesday reset, we did a build focused around the turret abilities, aka the buddy abilities, because he's got a huge update, so they now scale based off of your grenade stat. So the higher you raise your grenade stat, the more damage these abilities will do, and they also now interact with any mod or perk in the game that states grenade and its description, which opens up a ton of avenues of new possibilities for the Warlock, and that's what brought us to today's video because it's based around that as well. And I'm just gonna say right now, the Warlock is looking busted with these new updates, and I love it. Previously, Warlock was definitely lagging behind Hunter and Titan, and they were looking to be forever doomed as a support role. But now they're so thick and it's awesome. There are so many classic Warlock builds that are back on the menu, and today we're going over one of many, which is a good old classic Geomag Stabilizers build. One of my personal faves. I've covered it so many times in the channel, and it's back again, and it is extra saucy right now, and I'll show you why. So let's break it down. Hope you enjoy. Shout out to our sponsor, Advanced GG, the #1 gaming supplement in the world. Use code MAVEN at checkout for 10% off. Link down below. Thank you. Alright, so for the background gameplay, we're going to do a Grandmaster with a bunch of modifiers on to pump up that difficulty. So we are 24 power below. I know it says 23, but I swapped out my mint last second for Tenacious, so I am 24 below. So that's just going to show how destructive this build is and that it can handle its own in difficult solo content. Alright, so to preface this video, when you have 200 in your grenade stat, your grenades get a 65% damage buff, but that's going to be a little bit hard to achieve on this build since this build requires Spark of Shock. More on that in a second, but Spark of Shock reduces your grenade stat by 10. So if you want to achieve 200 in your grenade stat, not only do you need a 30 grenade roll on your GEOMAGS, but you also need at least 2 pieces of armor such as this, which is tier 5 Grenadier armor that dropped with that 1 in 6 chance of having a +5 bonus in grenade. So essentially, it's a 45 grenade stat roll. And having 2 of those pieces of armor would allow you to reach 200 to make up for that -10 from Spark of Shock. Just wanted to throw that out there. So in this video, I'll be rocking 190 in my grenade stat, which still gives me a 58% damage buff. Furthermore, Warlocks also received an intrinsic buff in this new update, so they straight up get +10% grenade recharge rate and +5% grenade damage for free, no perk required. So it's just an intrinsic trait of Warlocks in general. It's gnarly, it's awesome, I love it. And finally, since buddy abilities now work with anything grenade related, that means they now interact with our Shield Crush artifact mod, which will boost our grenade damage and regen rate by 25% while we are amplified, which should pretty much be active 100% of the time on this build. So you put it all together, and that's a 95% damage buff to our Arc Soul, and that'll be sentient at that. So basically you get an Arc Soul while amplified, it'll shoot 6 rounds in its burst instead of 3, so it'll be twice as strong. Now, all the Warlock buddy abilities got affected in this new update, and that includes Ionic Sentry, Arc Soul, Bleak Watcher, Child of the Old Gods, and Hellion. And if I were to ask you what the strongest of the bunch was, you'd probably without a doubt say Hellion, especially with Ember of Ashes, Eunoia, and a poor internet connection so you can bug the ignitions. And you're not entirely wrong, but I'd argue Arc Soul is now the strongest due to one specific interaction that it now has. So remember how I said Spark of Shock was important? And remember how buddy abilities now work with anything grenade related? Well, yes, Spark of Shock will now allow your Arc Soul to jolt stuff, which is just absolutely stupid. It's absurd. It's so dang strong, and if you pair that along with Electrostatic Mind as well as Spark of Ions, which both create ionic traces upon defeating a jolted target and or defeating a target with an arc ability or bolt charge, it gets a little bit insane. So in a nutshell, your little arc buddy is taking you on a full expenses paid vacation to Ionic Trace City, okay? And now, which build appreciates Ionic Traces the most? That's right, the Geomag Stabilizers, which boost the heck out of your Chaos Rage super and also give you a boatload of super energy whenever you collect an Ionic Trace. I mean, you've probably already been seeing how fast we can get supers in the background gameplay, but I'll cut away to another clip here in the shooting range so you can really focus on just how fast we can spam supers. It literally only takes one small wave of ads to fully get your super back, because with that Arc Soul jolting everything, we're getting upwards of like 3 Ionic Traces per kill, Like, it's actually stupid. We get our super back so incredibly quick, especially more so now that Arc Soul interacts with Ashes to Assets on your helmet, which gives you bonus super energy for grenade final blows, which we're rocking 2 copies of. So that alone generates a ton of super, Ionic Traces aside. So as much as I wanted to run the Ionic Sentry to chat this new buddy buff, I just couldn't pass up on Electrostatic Mine, and I think you can see why. But yeah, Electrostatic Mine and Spark of Ions aren't the only things generating Ionic Traces for us. We got Elemental Coalescence, which will generate an Ionic Trace upon scoring 4 to 7 kills. And then we got Spark of Discharge, which will periodically generate Ionic Traces on arc weapon final blows. The game tells you it's a chance system, but it's not. It's an invisible progress bar system in which the tier of enemy you kill dictates the amount of progress you gain towards creating Ionic Traces. For example, it'll take 3 red bar kills, 2 orange bar kills, or 1 yellow bar kill to make an Ionic Trace. Additionally, collecting an Ionic Trace will grant you a stack of Bolt Charge, but this will actually equate to 2 stacks of Bolt Charge because Spark of Frequency doubles up the Bolt Charge we gain whenever we are amplified. So not only are we generating traces out the butt, but we're also generating Bolt Charge like crazy. So with all the jolting and bolt charging that we're doing, this build just makes you feel like Zeus. It makes you feel like a thunder god walking around and spreading lightning to everyone like an electrified Oprah Winfrey. So that's the basis of the build, and here's my loadout. Got mint for some top tier DPS and got the Opaque Hourglass, which has been my go-to heavy lately, which is conveniently also an arc weapon. But why do we have the Trinity Ghoul? Well, there's no particular reason other than I just like it. It's hyper convenient, not having to aim, and to just hip fire it around, picking up easy kills against trash mobs. It's going to be one of the easier ways, not only to be efficient, but also to utilize Arc Siphon for orbs, and to proc Spark of Discharge for Ionic Traces. Technically, there are other things you could run that actually synergize with the build that can cause jolt, such as the Antedate, the Lodestar, the Delicate Tomb, the Cold Heart, Pyroelectric Propellant, the Forgiveness, Indebted Kindness, the Unfall, the Warlord Spear, you name it, the list goes on and on. Insert any weapon that can jolt here and it would work out perfectly well and good and have synergy with the build. The Trinity Ghoul technically doesn't have synergy, but it just works out so well and is so efficient, but that's just me. Anyways, checking out our mod setup here, it's kind of a loose setup with no surges and no kickstarts. It's kind of just centered around our ability spam mods on our gloves like Bolstering Detonation, Focusing Strike, and Momentum Transfer, since Arc Soul now procs these things and helps you loop your abilities. We really just want to make sure we can get a Rift back frequently since it's our main method of survival, and keeping up Arc Soul is obviously important. So we got Absolution, Innervation, and Insulation on the boots, so we grab orbs, we get those abilities back. Got Bomber and Outreach on the class item, so the Rift recharges the melee and nade, and then in turn the glove mods make the melee and nade recharge the Rift. So you see where we're getting at? Kind of looping stuff here. Now yes, we could run things like Firepower and Powerful Attraction if we wanted to, but this build is making so many Ionic Traces that I personally felt like the ability spam was well off already, and doing that other stuff with the orbs would be a little bit overkill. So we didn't need to go the orb route, but I still have Siphon and Reaper just for the heck of it. Like I said before, double Ashes to Assets on the helmet for Omega thick super energy, and finally triple resist on the chest. And for our stats, I'd recommend going double hundreds and super in class and dumping as much as possible into your grenade stat. It's going to take a lot of armor farming to get this perfect, but I would recommend Grenadier armor, in which grenade is your primary, super is your secondary, and try to get drops with class as your tertiary. And as aforementioned, you gotta pray to the Traveler that you get Grenade as your bonus stat if you want to hit 200 in your Grenade stat, so best of luck with that. And that pretty much does it for the build. And here's a snippet of my artifact in case you wanted to see that. S tier build, to be honest. Geomag to me never fell off, it's just that everyone stopped using it and they shouldn't have. This build is still a powerhouse and just got way better, and I love it. I've been a huge fan of Arc this season, and I know I always keep on saying, oh, I'm a Titan main, but if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you know that we've been doing so many Hunter builds because Hunters got by far the most affected by the Edge of Fate sandbox updates. And they definitely had the most doors open to new possibilities out of all 3 classes. So I've just been going ham with Hunter builds. And to be completely honest here, I've kind of been back to being a Hunter main this season. And I have been maining the Lucky Raspberry build that I covered a couple months ago. That has been my go-to build that I have been on to farm power and various activities. I love it. Arc has just been an absolute blast, or more so an absolute shock. So with this new insanely awesome spark of shock interaction with Arc Soul, I could potentially see myself maining this Geomag build and being back to being a Warlock main. It's been a long time since I've been a Warlock main. I'm just loving Arc right now, and Arc Soul is like the joltiest thing in the game right now. It jolts the world, and it's so addicting. I know we're only a couple days into this new update and we'll see what happens as time goes on, but I gotta say, this has meta potential. Arc Soul has the juice to possibly take over the game. I'm serious. You know, like, I personally feel it's stronger than Hellion. It does about similar DPS. They both do around 800 DPS, except, you know, with Hellion, you got like those fragments that make it cause cure, but Arc Soul with the jolt, it just makes it nutty for ad clear. So they both have their benefits, and personally I feel Arc Soul is like the strongest thing right now. Give it a try, you will not regret it. Arc Warlock is back on the menu, boys. So if you'd like to give it a try, as always, a dim loadout link to the build will be down below in the description and also the pinned comment. And if you got any buddies who are Warlock mains, I'd appreciate it if you consider sharing the video with them. Perhaps this is something they might want to try out. All right, that's going to do for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit the like button and drop a comment, because every little bit of interaction goes a long way into helping the algorithm, especially more so since D2 YouTube has been in kind of a dark place lately. So any little bit you can help out, it'd be greatly appreciated. And I hope you stick around for more and hit that subscribe button. Got a lot more builds in the way with these new sandbox changes. And we got a Controverse hold build coming up in the next video that I'm very excited to show you guys. So stick around for more, and I'll catch you then. See you later.